Hello and welcome back to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Dumbest Moments of the Week. Well, we've got a long list of some real doozies of Alex being dumb this week. Everything from her trying to sound hip and down with drug culture when tweeting about a so-called Dimebag. It was very cringy, to say the least. And later on, we'll talk about how some parody accounts that have been making fun of AOC, well, they've received the ban hammer on Twitter, amongst other places. Hopefully I don't get too much shit for razzing Alex here, but oh well. Let's go ahead and jump right into things anyway. The first and most embarrassing moment for Cortez this week can be found in a video where she apparently first discovers what a garbage disposal is. That's right, the 29-year-old grown-ass woman who's also an elected official in Congress, well, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has never seen a garbage disposal before, and it's also important to keep in mind what this ditz's policies are and what her plans are for the United States. Alex is the same person that is proposing that America should spend billions of dollars to update and modernize our homes with solar power or some bullshit. Also, Cortez wants us to get rid of gas-powered cars, pushing for electric ones. Not to mention, she also wants us to switch from airplanes to train travel. And all of this coming from a woman who's never seen or heard of a garbage disposal before. Really makes you think, doesn't it? Should we really be taking this kind of person's advice on anything? Let alone on what technology and transportation resources we should be using. Please, this is almost as bad as taking a blind person's advice on your fashion and makeup choices. If Cortez doesn't know what basic home appliances are and how they work, how the hell is she going to have any authority over where our homes get our power and what power our vehicles use, and how to travel? Absolutely insane, but also not too surprising since Cortez is pretty much the dumbest person alive, and easily, without a doubt, she's certainly the dumbest politician of all time. With all that said, without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the video in question. This is a clip from one of Cortez's now infamous live streams, where she tries to come across as relatable and down to earth, when really, she just appears to be an airheaded panderer. Check this one out.
Okay, everyone, I need your help because I just moved into this apartment a few months ago and I flipped this switch and it made that noise and it scared the daylights out of me.
It scared the shit out of you, lady. Just say it. You're a grown-ass woman who's so sheltered and shut off from the real world that regular household appliances are scaring you. Also, that's not the way a garbage disposal is supposed to sound. Clearly there's something broken down in there, making this disposal sound even louder. Probably some broken glass or a small fork maybe. Regardless, this is not something to be proud of, Alex. And this is not something that's cute for a congresswoman to do either. In an effort to appear down to earth and relatable to the masses, Alex is actually making herself look like the opposite. Not knowing what a garbage disposal is makes you look out of touch, like you've had rich people taking care of your garbage and cleaning your whole life. And I know not knowing about garbage disposals may not be as big a deal in New York City, which has had them outlawed before, but in most of the United States, garbage disposals are super common. I've traveled all across this nation many times over the years, and I've never seen a place without a garbage disposal. So yeah, Alex, you're showing your hand here. This is the kind of thing a good assistant or handler would keep from going public too, but in this social media heavy, everything is streaming day and age, we get to see AOC blow things live on camera for all of us to laugh at and enjoy.
I am told this is a garbage disposal. I've never seen a garbage disposal. I never had one in any place I've ever lived. It is terrifying. I don't know what to use it for or what its purpose is.
Well, genius, its use and purpose is right in its name. A garbage disposal is used to dispose of garbage, obviously. And the fact that you don't know that and you can't figure that simple thing out really speaks miles towards your intelligence, Lexi. Next, let's read the comment in this video before we move on. At the top right of this section, AOC's annotation reads, "This DC apartment is bougie and has things I've never seen before. Like, what is a garbage disposal really for? Is it better or worse than throwing something in the garbage? More importantly, why is it so loud and yelling at me?" Well, fortunately for you, Lexi, I'm a common sense having adult human who can help you answer these 6th grade level questions. My parents taught me how to use the garbage disposal as a young kid. It's really not that hard. When things go into your kitchen sink, sometimes food chunks drop in there, and instead of digging them out with your hands, you can simply wash those food scraps down with the garbage disposal. You run the water, flip the switch, and the disposal grinds things up and flushes them down along with your water in the pipes. Pretty easy and straightforward too. And it's not like this appliance has some kind of tricky, deceptive name to it. It's not like a Lazy Susan, one of those spinning cabinets that you might not know what it is by its name. No, as I said before, the garbage disposal is pretty self-explanatory. It disposes of your garbage. Questioning that this vigorously is pretty much equivalent to asking, what does a can opener do? Or what's a coffee maker used for? Those questions are just as ridiculous, Alex. So get your shit together, lady. And as for the question about whether using the disposal is better or worse than just throwing things out in the regular garbage, well, that depends on who you ask and what context you're thinking. I'm sure Cortez is asking in some sort of environmental sense, since she is the one claiming to be green and trying to save the world and shit. And well, admittedly, picking up your scraps and throwing them away without running the water and electric for the disposal, that is probably a bit better. But if you're quick and efficient with the garbage disposal, the difference here is probably negligible. And if you factor in things like cleanliness and convenience, well, then the garbage disposal wins this hands down. Lastly, the reason why Alex's disposal is so loud is something we already went over. There's likely glass or a broken plate or something down in her drain. That's why when the disposal spins and grinds, it's sounding extra loud. These are all easy answers to easy questions here. Some stuff children could figure out and learn, but AOC, she's really not that bright.
Food scraps? Like, is this environmentally sound? I don't know. Boo! No, I'm just kidding. I think there's a piece of glass down there.
Oh, we know, Alex. Might want to check and see if your brain or common sense fell down that drain too, though. And last thing I'll mention about this before moving on is a term called composting. This is a practice many have suggested for AOC before. And since she's questioning the environmental impact of a garbage disposal, I think it's a good time to bring this one up again. You see, while Alex is questioning whether throwing her food scraps down the garbage disposal or into the trash can is better, she's actually missing the much more green and environmentally sound option. It's composting. And that's where people collect their food scraps and instead of throwing them away with the regular garbage in the trash can, composters will bury their biodegradable trash in the ground so it can deteriorate naturally and also sometimes fertilize the soil. Basically, they take the trash out into their yard or some nearby mini landfill they have set up by their homes. And this is actually the best thing you could do with these kinds of food scraps, at least according to someone who wants to be green and protect the environment. Putting more food scraps into your regular trash, while it might be slightly better than your garbage disposal, well, it also adds a lot of weight to your trash cans, which requires more room and more trucks that use more gas to haul it farther off to the official landfills. But AOC has never mentioned or considered this composting option ever, probably because she doesn't even know what it is, or, and perhaps more likely, she's just too lazy to do something like this. We've already seen that Cortez doesn't practice what she preaches, like when it comes to switching from plane travel to trains, and she also doesn't use electric cars like what she wants us to do either. So her not taking care of her trash in the greenest way possible, well, that really shouldn't be surprising either. Next, let's get to that Dimebag tweet I mentioned earlier. It's from about a week ago and it says, to avoid looking completely and utterly out of touch with the reality of our prison system, instead of asking, should the Boston bomber have the right to vote, try, should a nonviolent person stopped with a dime bag lose the right to vote? Because that question reflects way more people. If you say so, Alex. To me, it just sounds like liberals are trying to find another way to cheat and get more votes in 2020, the next election against Trump. First, they questioned our whole election system, even though they claimed Trump would be the one to not accept the 2016 election results. Really though, it was the Democrats who did that, because they lost. Hillary even still says that the election was stolen from her to this day. She said that in an interview last week. Why would she think that, you might ask? Well, Democrats love to trot out the popular vote argument. They think that since Hillary got more individual votes, she should be the president now. And that makes some sense at face value too, but really, it's the Electoral College who elects presidents, not the popular vote. If it was the popular vote, then Trump would have run a very different campaign, and he probably could have won that one too, but that's not what the election was, and that's not what the left wants either. They want to retroactively reverse this decision based on different fundamental criteria in order to sway things to their side in a very unfair way. So yeah, the whole ban the Electoral College meme is just a way for liberals to try and change the rules, since they can't win in current year otherwise. Next, they try and get more illegitimate voters to vote for their side. First, it was the legal immigrants who Democrats are bringing in by the truckload to get more votes for them too. And now, as we see with this AOC tweet, they also want convicted criminals to vote too. Gee, I wonder why. Well, it's because these criminals will vote overwhelmingly for Democrats, just like how the illegal immigrants will. So this is blatant and flagrant election tampering and manipulation. Make no mistake, people, the only reason the Democrats want these groups to vote is because they know they will vote for them. One more thing about this tweet that really makes me cringe is Alex's use of the dated term dimebag. Shit, I haven't heard of anyone getting dime bags in decades. For those who don't know though, this is what they used to call a small bag of weed. At least that's what shady, small-time, crackhead-like dealers used to call it. Really, no self-respecting stoner in 2019 would waste their time and money on a dime bag. So yeah, with that said, this to me shows that Alex is once again way out of touch. And it's also funny, going back to the last topic for a moment, well, don't you guys think it's interesting that Cortez knows what a dime bag is, but not a garbage disposal? Pretty interesting and weird if you think about it. Lastly, one more dumb thing AOC related to go over today before we go. As I teased earlier, and in line with this recent wave of banning conservatives on social media, well, a pretty prominent and hilarious parody account of AOC was recently deleted from Twitter. Not only that, but the account's manager also lost their own main account because of this. A tweet from Will Chamberlain has more details. It says, nearly 60,000 followers gone in a drop of a hat because of a non-existent parody violation since Office of Mike managed AOC Press. Clearly Mike was trying to comply, and Twitter suspended him anyway. Favoritism toward AOC? Anti-Semitism? What's going on, Jack? Well, Will, I think it's clearly favoritism going on here since we're not seeing any of the prominent parody accounts that attack conservatives getting taken down. Trump still has parodies of him out there, and so does Mike Pence and other prominent conservative figures like, say, TV show host Tucker Carlson. These guys get parodies made of them all the time, but making fun of conservatives is A-OK, and that's allowed on Twitter, at least according to the liberal fascist 1984 pushers that run the place. And I don't mind these parody accounts being made for them either. You can make fun of conservatives all you want, but we should also be allowed to make fun of Democrats too. But apparently we can't, because if you dare to make fun of a beloved radical liberal and SJW like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, well, you better buckle up, buckaroo, because you're going on a wild one-way ride to Banville. Population, thousands of conservatives who only committed the thought crime of wrongthink. Oh, and also, they were being too funny and entertaining and too widespread and influential too. Making jokes about Democrats online is one thing, but when you're good at it and you have a dedicated following like that AOC parody account did, well, Jack at Twitter will be ready to ban the shit out of you without even bothering to give you an explanation or a notice for it. Shit, some of these account holders don't even find out they're banned until the news reports on it, or when some of their loyal followers decide to email them this troubling news. What do you guys think? Is AOC discovering a garbage disposal at 29 years old cute and relatable? Or is it dumbfounding and quite troubling actually? She's in frickin' Congress, for crying out loud. And what do you think about her and Democrats wanting criminals to vote for them? Is that a good idea? And should Twitter be banning parody accounts of Democrats while also leaving up the conservative ones? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.